Great news, Michael Jackson fans, because Wade Robson's case has come to a dead end. The judge has deemed his case to be untrialable, meaning it cannot go to trial. There is nothing about Wade's arguments and laws that they're trying to apply that makes sense. The judge is tossing it out. And I'm going to explain to you why Wade Robson has lost his case against Michael Jackson, MJJ Productions. So for those of you who don't know, Wade Robson, who alleges sexual abuse, has tried to get his hands on Michael Jackson's money. And his lawyers know that they could not sue Michael Jackson because he's deceased. They could not directly sue the estate. So what they figured was, why don't we sue the company that Michael Jackson may have worked for, called MJJ Productions -MJJ Ventures. They say Michael Jackson was an employee. Oh, and so was Wade. And if these two are both employees of the same company, well, the company was at fault because they let bad things happen. So the first thing Wade tried to sue for was intentional infliction of emotional distress. And this one's a little bit hard because Michael Jackson, according to the law, is innocent until proven guilty. So they're trying to say fellow employee Michael Jackson caused intentional infliction of emotional distress on Wade. But Michael Jackson, who is deceased, under the law is considered not guilty of those charges. So the judge was like, there's nothing I can do with this so-called emotional distress. You have no evidence. You have no proof that any of these things happened. So he tossed that out. He said, okay, what else do you have? And so they decided to argue also about negligence. They said, okay, well, if Wade was abused, this company, MJJ Productions, failed to report this abuse. And they said, under the Child Abuse and Neglect Reporting Act, MJJ Productions did not do their job. They have a duty of care to report abuse. So again, the judge was like, well, what abuse? Because Michael Jackson was never found guilty of any abuse. And secondly, MJJ Productions is not a school. It was not a church. It was not a Boy Scouts of America. So any duty of care that they think applies to children actually did not apply. The judge said MJJ Productions is Michael Jackson, the superstar. Therefore, how can you try to spin it that there was some sort of legal responsibility for employees or the company to report abuse? So he tossed it. Next thing was, they tried to say that MJJ Productions had negligent retention -hiring and negligent supervision. And when they talk about this, they're actually talking about Michael Jackson. MJJ Productions apparently were negligent in hiring Michael Jackson. They were negligent in not supervising him. And this was such a stretch for the judge because those sort of arguments might work if a school were to hire someone and it turns out they're a child molester and that teacher abuses a child. They can say, hey, school, you are negligent in hiring that person. Or if a teacher was able to be alone with a child, they could say, there was negligent supervision of your employee because how did this teacher have all this time to be alone with a child? But again, the judge is like, that's untrialable. MJJ Productions could not fire Michael Jackson. It didn't really hire Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson created this company as an extension of himself, a sort of umbrella company for all of his artistic works. And then this, negligent supervision. Who was meant to supervise Michael Jackson? He was the head of the company. Is he meant to supervise himself? So it was just really stretching the law. And then the final cause for negligence, they said, was negligent failure to train, warn, or educate. And again, MJJ Productions is not a school. They didn't fail to warn Wade about Michael Jackson. They didn't fail to warn Wade's family about Neverland or something like that. So the judge said anything that did or didn't happen is within the scope of a personal relationship between Michael Jackson, the person, and the plaintiff, Wade. Not a case of MJJ Productions and employees and all of that. He also said that anything that may have happened at a private residence. Neverland is a private residence. The Hideaway, MJ's condo in Los Angeles, is a private residence. These are not places of business per se, even though Michael Jackson was creative in these places. It's not like abuse that takes place at a school or abuse that takes place at a scouting den or something like that. All in all, Wade's case failed because they were trying to take laws that apply to corporations involving children and apply that to Michael Jackson. And it just couldn't stick. So the case is now tossed. It is untrialable. There's no other way for Wade and his lawyers to try to twist the law to try to get a payout from Michael Jackson's estate. It's just not going to happen. He's been trying to sue Michael Jackson since 2013. So if Wade wants to get money, he's going to have to find another way. He's not going to get his rich payday from Michael Jackson. Dan Reed, you're Leaving Neverland Part 2. Hope you explain what I just explained, because this case was flimsy from the get-go. Under the law, Michael Jackson is innocent of all charges until proven guilty in a court of law. And let that stand on the record, and let it be known that Wade and James, their lawsuits have lost. MJ walks through courts. Thank you for listening.